Gentlemen, welcome back. It's Confidently Wrong. We're back in the studio after like 2 months away. I don't know. It's been forever since we've talked. And Savon,
not long enough.
Jesus.
Oh, Brian doesn't love us anymore.
I'm just kidding, guys. I missed you all.
We like you. I'm like, oh, I like Brian. He's cool. You broke
Brian
our hearts.
is too cool for us, I guess, Savon. He's too cool.
Like, oh,
I'm living a championship summer.
A championship. That boy got a championship and swatched up quick. He said,
I'm confidently right now, so it just feels weird to be here. Is what I'm saying.
He's just saying, oh, who let all this wrong in here?
This feels like a Spurs podcast.
Gee, goddamn, off the top rope. Those 17 fans are going to be really upset with you, and the country of France.
Well, welcome back. It's been quite a while since we've been able to meet up. We've had lots of different busy schedules going on. I was in and out of town. Savon was in and out of town. Brian was in and out of town.
The country.
I was in your town.
You came to visit, right? A couple of weeks ago. I was still jet lagged from being in Hawaii, and my brain was not working at all while Brian was here. Apparently, still not working right now.
But I'm excited. Humble brag for the fans.
We were world travelers, globalizing the world or something. Yeah, I don't.
Savon turned into a tree.
Savon, did we do the last podcast together? Or was it me and Brian that did the last podcast together?
I think you and I did House of the Dragon episode. Yeah, we were talking about House of the Dragon.
Oh yeah, that was a good one. Man, House of the Dragon. I've been really liking this season. We're gonna talk about it again at some point. But
it's fun.
Brian, you're not caught up on it at all, right?
I have not watched a single episode of the new season.
That boy is basking in his championship glow. He doesn't really need.
Really is.
Brian just sits in a room, puts a bunch of Nick's paraphernalia around his body and wraps himself in like a sarcophagus and then just meditates for a few hours before getting his day started. And I would too if I had everyone.
I can't tell you how many times I've watched the ends of Game 4 and Game 5.
Really?
On repeat.
Nice.
Different versions. There are different angles out there. There's some with commentary. There's some with just the crowd noise, and they're all beautiful.
Is that the one with the OG tip in at the end?
Absolutely.
Nice. That was some of the wildest shit I ever seen in my life.
I feel like Brian.
And I think that's better content than anything else out there right now.
Wow,
that's fair.
That's untrue.
It's not confidently wrong, but it's a distant second.
Brian, you got to do like what's that called when they do the pilgrimage to Mecca? You got to do that, but to Madison Square Garden, just to like touch the side of the building, or pray outside.
Database. Add to Dolan database.
Do my fingerprint screening,
wear a bandana.
My optical screening.
Your blood drop.
He's gonna look at everything I've written since I was a 5-year-old to see if his name
Brian,
was mentioned.
You were at that game, right? The OG game.
I was.
That's insane.
I was basically sitting in the rafters.
Does it still make your heart oh my god, I was there, and you just get excited all over again when you realize you saw all of that live?
I feel like I'm about to fall over the edge of a cliff because
oh my god,
that is what the sensation was like, and I think I did almost fall over the edge.
Wait, Savon,
and I would have died because it really is a rafter type seating where I was.
Wait, Savon, do you know that Brian did not go of his own volition to this game?
What, somebody made him go?
Somebody made him go.
Did you not want to deal with the traffic?
No,
and stuff?
I was trying to go. But I definitely had a price limit that then the people I went with, aka my family, my sisters, completely disregarded that threshold and just bought tickets. I was like, wait, what? This is way over budget. But I guess we're going.
Are you the basketball? Are you the basketball lover of your family?
I am.
Your family straight up said this is a once in a lifetime opportunity for Brian. We can't let him worry about some short term pricing. Stop this from being a thing. And that's
that's kind of their mindset. And these two, they don't have spouses, they don't have kids. They got what is that called? Expendable income.
Double income, no kids.
Disposable income. So they try to live, and they're like, Brian, you got to live too.
No, man, as soon as you say sisters, I was like, oh, this is exactly what it is. Like, they know you love hoops and don't want you to miss a once in a lifetime opportunity because of a very tangible, significant, but like not the end of your life amount of money.
Yeah, but they didn't offer to like pay for his ticket.
No.
He still had to pay for his ticket.
Yeah.
Well,
that was
which I'm still in the process of figuring out.
Well, F it.
But at least they fronted it. They fronted it.
All right, worth it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah,
it's still worth it.
Oh, easy to pay back.
You got to see the game of the century, bro.
Yeah, that's what we is. You get pay back your
interest-free loan.
That's
what that is.
Oh, 100%. Oh yeah, you up? What the hell? Oh yeah, you up, pal.
All right, let's get into it.
But much like your trip to the rafters, let's talk about another Odyssey that was taken.
Ooh, dun 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 dun.
Good segue.
We're talking about Christopher Nolan's latest epic film, The Odyssey, just released a couple of weeks ago. It has been doing gangbusters. Everybody is talking about it. Almost everybody has seen it, whether you're an action fan, a Christopher Nolan fan, a Matt Damon fan, whether you like The Odyssey as a novel as a kid. It seems like everybody has been to see this movie. And it probably helps that there hasn't been some major movies also kind of competing with it, although there are a couple coming on the horizon. Adapting, obviously Homer's epic poems, the Iliad and the Odyssey, into kind of one movie, taking us on some adventures with Odysseus, played by Matt Damon here, and then, kind of revolving around the story of him trying to get back to his wife, played by Anne Hathaway. I believe, what's her name? Penelope in the movie?
Penelope, yes.
Penelope. And certainly, I think, not a spoiler to say that it was a very modern adaptation to the play. Like, everybody speaks in kind of American accents and American sort of ways of speaking, very modern take on it. It's not written in the same way that the Odyssey poem is written. It's not, because the old Odyssey poem is really, it's not Shakespearean, but in the way that it's formatted and the way that the words are written, it's very hard for, I think, us to understand, because everything is out of order and in different ways and very like abstract and not very specific and on the nose to the way that we talk now. So Christopher Nolan decides, let's make it modern, and I like that choice. I don't know if you guys had a thought on that, but I kind of liked it. I think it makes it more accessible, especially if you're trying to bring in everybody. You want it to be understandable. You want everybody to be able to get it. And then I think some of the themes were probably modern day themes more than they were ancient themes. And so I think he wanted to make sure that it fit the times that we're in and the times that maybe he's commenting on perhaps today. So that's what it was. Brian, are you going to this movie? I think I know the answer. Are you going to this movie because it's a Christopher Nolan movie? Are you going because there was some hype around it? Are you going because you had an interest in the Odyssey as a story from, high school days? Like, what was your driving motivation here?
Nolan.
That's what I figured. All right.
I did a whole episode on it. Come on.
You did.
This is like the culmination of his entire career in one movie. So, and actually, after watching this movie, you start to realize like most of his other movies are basically the Odyssey. Like some dude trying to get back to his family and encountering some crazy difficult quests to get there.
Yeah, and not an unusual story, right?
It's like the hero's journey, basically.
Yeah,
it is the original hero's journey. It is the underpinning for much of Western civilization stories, right?
Like
and all the stories we consume,
and making mistakes and costing, and all of that stuff, and trying to come out triumphant in the end.
How many words do we use that come from characters in this story? It took me a second of like, wait, that's where mentor comes from?
Yeah, I know, right?
You know how good you gotta be at your job to where it's just like your name is just a job
now it's
title
the verb
forever.
It's like,
yes, it's a verb.
We're gonna Brunson. What would that
like,
be?
Oh,
that's being clutch, baby.
Okay,
that's throwing some shit up and it goes in. Like, it works.
I'm gonna be a Brunson. All right, and Savon, for you, what was your motivation?
The podcast.
Yeah, so you felt like it was like homework.
Like, yes, but not homework that I was like, this is something that I don't want to do. Yeah. More so just, I know Christopher Nolan has a lot of like respect behind his name. I just am not really into, I'm just not enough of a movie buff to really, frankly, care about that. Yeah. Some of the stuff I've seen with him is just like, oh, this looks really well quality, but firmly not interesting to me. So it was like I know he's good at what he does. I just don't know if he makes shit that I want to watch. And the Odyssey looked really epic, but it's not like that was my favorite poem or favorite thing to read growing up. So it's not like, oh my goodness, this really
wasn't
brings
like
me
a
back.
must-see for
Yeah,
you.
yeah. It was like it was one of those, oh, this looks cool, but there's nothing really about the people or names and stuff behind it that draws me in. More so just, hey, this looks like a really expensive, well-made movie, and the
You're not
pod
a Matt
gave me a
Damon
reason
stan.
to watch it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't dislike any of the people or things attached to it. It's like everything about this movie, I was kind of just hard neutral. Don't dislike any of it, but nothing has ever really endeared me. So if the pod says we'll watch it, I was able to go in pretty like, all right, cool, let's see what it's about. Knowing that Christopher Nolan makes, that he's not bad at his job.
Yeah. I think it was twofold for me. I'm not like the biggest Christopher Nolan fan, but I do know that like his movies are interesting typically, and so that was something that I was like, okay, like that. And then I think there was a lot of big, not hype, but there was like excitement. I think people wanted to see it, and so I think both of those together made me want to see it and just at least be part of the conversation. And I think it's even bigger than I thought it was going to be. It's doing bigger numbers at this point than Oppenheimer did. So yeah, I think that's why I was not necessarily a fan of the epic poem, even though I think we probably read some of it in high school or all of it in high school and had, or maybe middle school. I had to like break it down. But yeah, we were talking pre-show that like all of this like literature that we see come to life later that we revisit as adults, we're like, man, we just did not like actually get it. Like we could break it down like on an intellectual level maybe, but like we didn't get it. We didn't like feel it, understand it, like what it was really talking about on deeper levels. And I think this movie does make it really clear that there's some other themes that you can bring into this. And I think maybe that aren't necessarily present in the poem according to people that I've seen, but I love that he adapted it to a kind of a modern message as we go on. So yeah, the movie has to deal with a whole bunch, right? There's all this stuff that's going on. This is spoilers at this point, right? That there's stuff going on with the major war, right? The Trojan War. We're going with the horses involved at this point. Then there's the whole journey back and all of the adventures that he goes on, or the different vignettes that happen. There was a lot to get through, and then obviously the whole how does he come back and actually get received back in Ithaca. Did you feel like the movie did a good job of being able to throw that into one story? Was it like too bloated, too much? Were there things that you wish they pared down? How did you feel about it? Brian, start us off.
So one of the challenges of adapting the Odyssey is the fact that it is an episodic type of story, right? It's in a way, it seems like the sort of thing that you would adapt for television more so than a movie, because of what happens on Odysseus's journey back home, right? He is confronted by trial after trial after trial, right? Whether it's the Cyclops monster, the witch Circe, Calypso, who enchants him, right? Like all these different encounters are kind of atomic, in that they have their own beginning and end, and each one has its own sort of moral or perspective or point of view that that it's trying to espouse. And I could be wrong, but that's sort of how I remember reading the Odyssey in high school and how we talked about it, right? Like each one of those episodes is kind of its own myth on its own. And so you could see how that could be a television episode. And so for them to actually pick out some of the most interesting trials for Odysseus to encounter and throw them together into one 3-hour movie that feels really cohesive and one journey that doesn't start and stop over and over and over. I'm looking at you, Grogu and the Mandalorian, and have more of a cohesive experience, I think speaks to, how well they did at adapting this. And I think it works because of Christopher Nolan's signature storytelling style, which is nonlinear, right? He is braiding together multiple timelines of a story and telling them out of order, to basically make something that is cohesive, right? So like he can share different parts of different stories of Odysseus's journey, of what's going on back home in Ithaca, of what's going on in the Trojan War. And all of those things are kind of happening simultaneously on the screen and taken together create one cohesive experience. And I think that's something that I think was really astounding to watch unfold in this movie, and something that they really succeeded at.
I wonder, I recall in high school or in middle school, whenever we talked about this story, we focused a lot in my class on this idea of hubris, that the Greeks were really interested in this idea of being overconfident in something and it kind of biting you in the butt, right? Like you don't make the plans that you're supposed to, or you really overestimate your own abilities to, perform, and the gods strike you down for it, right? The gods make you pay for that hubris. And I felt like this movie had that, but it ended up not being actually the point of the movie, right? Like, yes, there are instances where Odysseus shows too much hubris, but I think they also made him very earnest and very genuine as well. And so that balance was interesting, in that in order to make this story work as an overall arc, and him trying to get back home and being a family man and being loyal and all of that, you couldn't focus too much on the fact that his hubris was really a detriment to everybody else, and they put a lot of responsibility on other people rather than placing all the onus on Odysseus this time. And I thought that was an interesting choice to try and make the story work in the message that he wanted to tell about doing things in the right way, and that even if you make mistakes, you're still trying to do things in the right way. Whereas I think Odysseus has to be completely broken down because of his in Homer's version, right? I think he has to be really broken down by all of the things that go wrong, and him having to reckon with the fact that it was entirely his mistakes that led to all of the downfall, right? Whereas in Christopher Nolan's version, I think we take a lot on the fact that he felt like he fought in the wrong way against the Trojans, that he was dishonorable in the way that he conquered them, and that was his original sin. The rest of it is sort of just him being punished for that, not so much that he continues to make bad choices. So a kind of an interesting thing around that his penance comes as a result of the Trojan War decision, not because he continues to make the same hubristic mistakes.
He made some bad decisions. Why did he fire an arrow at the Cyclops after they already escaped?
Because the Cyclops rage baited him. We saw the Cyclops rage bait him into getting shot. Like, the men were talking about, hey, we don't want to lose our men. The Cyclops threw that helmet at him and was like, yeah, I got your boy. What now, bitch? And Odysseus that was like a very noticeable, don't take the rage bait, bro. And he took the rage bait. That is a very definitive, yo, Odysseus, you effed up. But that would be a different convo about how I feel about the larger theme. But Odysseus, that was a key bag fumble moment. That was probably the key biggest bag fumble in the movie. I was like, oh man, I feel like shit would have been way better if you hadn't done that. I get it. Yeah. But
But in the poem, he's always fumbling. It's right. Isn't it him making all these mistakes and continuing to
I haven't read it long enough to be able to say anything of value. Be honest, I'd be bullshitting you. I don't want to do that to y'all.
Okay. Well, let's keep going. I would say though that I felt like the one thing that I would say I didn't necessarily think was as engaging for me was actually the episodes that we're talking about did start to feel kind of repetitive to me. I was kind of okay, these all kind of have the same format. It's we land on an island, we go in, we mess it up, and then we got to run away back to the boats as quick as we can because everybody's chasing us, right? And that happened maybe 3 or 4 times, and I was sort of can we do it in a different way? Can this be visually actually different? Because it kept being get on the boats, and they're trying to rush through the surf and get back onto the boats, and then things are getting thrown at them, and it comes at a cost. And it was okay, well, we get it. They got to go back to the boats. Can we come up with a different threat to them? But I think that's a minor quibble in that there's only maybe 3 or 4 of those scenarios, and then
tell
by
that
the
to
end,
Homer.
Yeah, I'm what are you criticizing? Are you criticizing the source material? That's the Odyssey. The whole point is that they Odyssey to different places and bad shit happens. That's that's the meat and bones of the story.
Yeah.
You take that out.
I think in a 2 or 3 hour film, that it just started to feel a little bit repetitive. I don't know what else to say about it. I don't. I don't know if there was any way around it, since you are trying to adapt a story that already exists, But
I think it would be value in looking at what each of those places, there's a little bit of a message behind each one. I think if you look at it at face value of just a go to place bad thing happens, it can look repetitive. But my interpretation, and Brian, throw in however you feel with this, is that it all the threats were unique things that kind of made them have to reckon a little bit. The island with the giant people was kind of, hey man, a literal fear of the unknown, and it's not unlike what they did to their enemies in terms of just, hey man, you don't know who's gonna run up and F your stuff up. That's a real sobering moment to a group who were doing that to another group of people at the end, which we really saw at the finale. The island that they go to with the woman, like it did make the vibes were off of like, hey man, this is a bunch of hungry soldiers who disobeyed their commander running up into this woman's house. Like that was kind of a misstep on their end. And the lady even talking about their pigs and their pigs at nature and like that entire, like I thought that was a very them clearly driving a point home about yes, these are Odysseus's men, but these men are also inherently pigs and monsters, and to what extent are you responsible for them? And like I thought that was them driving that point home very heavy. And she even says, you lost, how you send your men that, and we know as the watchers, actually Odysseus didn't. They kind of mutinied against him and went and did that shit. So they were kind of making that bad decision on their own. But like, I thought each island and the awful shit that happened along the trip, each had very unique little things to kind of say about the group at whole. And some of it is a little bit of like some karma for what they did to Troy. But like, I didn't see it as each island just being repetitive. I was like, oh, they're monsters. This is what it's like when you're on the receiving end of an ass whooping. Hey, again, you ignored your commander and it led to even more people dying because they decided, no, we're going to sail and do this thing. Like it was, I don't know. I saw it as like, man, it's crazy to see the breakdown of these men and the point that they're trying to make about just the depravity of man, which was my larger takeaway from the film. But
yeah, and then I think like the biggest example of that, right? Like that all culminates in them arriving at the river of fire, and they do a blood sacrifice, and they meet all the dead soldiers under Odysseus' command from the Trojan War, and they are actually talking about like, hey man, you left us, like what what the F, you lied to me, and you like, this is all going to come back to you, right? Like you are going to pay for your sins, basically. And I think I think that sums up kind of how all these episodes were tied together. And I think that goes back to your point, Wes, about this being sort of a trip back from war is the essential underpinning here. And the hubris really is like, what lengths of depravity were we willing to go to enter this new world where the rules don't matter, the laws of nature don't matter, the laws of gods don't matter, and the consequences it's going to have for us as people. And I think all of that is coming to a head in each one of these stories in different ways. And for me, I thought each one of those was like really exciting and fascinating to watch. Like, I mean, the dead soldiers coming out of the ground, the soldiers being transformed into pigs. Like even before that, when they're being fed. Oh my God, that's crazy.
And the acting, like you could see, like what they eat, and then you could even like shout out to the acting, because that scene, I was like, oh, it looks like they've lost control of their ability to, but and then just to kind of drive that on home, Brian, like, and then to drive it on home, Wes and Brian, the whole thing is all this awful stuff happens to the soldiers, and you feel bad for them. And again, Brian, you're making a good point about Christopher Nolan's non-linear storytelling. It's not a coincidence the movie opens up with the Trojan horse and talk about it being a gift from the gods and all this shit, and then they keep yapping about Zeus's law, and you feel bad for Odysseus's group throughout the movie, because you see all this shit happen, but then the movie, shout out to Nolan, snatches away, at least in my opinion, really rips away any sympathy you had when you realize just how brutal the sacking of Troy was, and you realize this is just the gods kind of paying back what y'all have had happen to you tenfold that y'all did to this city. It's crazy when all this bad shit happens to you on your trip, but y'all were doing the same, if not worse, when you sacked this city. So, I don't know. I thought there was a little bit of narrative cohesion between the meaning of the different places they went to, and then all that tying back to what they did at Troy. And, I mean, they used the same shot of Matt Damon kind of having his little soldier breakdown on the steps like 4 different times in the movie, and each time context is revealed until you see the full picture of like, oh, this shit really comes together. And like, to Brian's point, I don't know, I thought it coalesced in a very meaningful way of, they kept it interesting, but when it came time to tie it on home, it all came together with a neat bow, and like, you had really strong feelings about everything you had, but like not in the order you would have expected. I felt bad for his soldiers up until the end, and I was like, that's right, you guys are monsters. Ugh, no wonder, like, yeah, y'all did this awful thing. Like, they basically committed the red wedding, basically. Like, this is like a red wedding level. Hey, man, like, this is not quite a war crime, but the equivalent of one. Of like, hey man, you effing up the whole how we do business. Like I don't know. I just thought that was all really well done. They tied it well into the islands and the shit that happened to them.
All right. Was there one of those episodes that you found to be most dramatic or like most engaging? For me, it was definitely the pig one, where they go and meet the witch and Cersei transforms them into pigs. Holy cow! I was like horrified, but like I couldn't look away. I was, there's sort of a mystery, right? You see the very beautiful like tigers and yeah, the big cats, the panther that's there, and you're like, oh, okay, I know something's wrong with these cats because they're like not attacking, but like I don't get why. Like maybe they're super well trained, or like would any normal person is gonna see these big cats and be like, I'm good, I'm not gonna go up there, right? Like, but they continue to go up the path. And then obviously they have this lunch with Cersei, and she's clearly, oh well, I mean, she's like, you got to leave your armor outside, and then you see the other armor in the ground, like, guys, run away, what are we doing? Like, this is wrong, everything is wrong about this, but they're so hungry and they're so starved, and they're like, we need food, and this kind lady on this top of the hill is gonna offer us food, and then they're eating food that's like strangling them, and like, ah, and then she tears their faces and puts her whole like hand in their jaw and pulls it apart, and there's this like body horror stuff going on there. It's not body, it's face horror, I guess. It's mostly
no, it's
just
body
faces.
horror. No, body horror. No,
face horror.
Yeah,
no,
face
mouth
horror.
horror.
No, that was just, or we could just call it horror. That's just awful, terrible time to have eyes. It's like,
and it was, yeah, it was. I mean, but it was amazing. Like the way that they did it, it looked
awful.
Very as practical as you could make it. I don't know.
Yeah, no CG.
It was.
Yeah, I don't know how they did it, Brian, but it looked as practical as you could make. I'm sure there was some CG involved, but well, I'm not sure.
Videos I've watched of them talking about it, they said there's no CG in that.
It was
scene.
really puppet. Yeah,
so they were using a lot of like models and like with clay or something. Interesting.
The same people who did the like the team, like the old Teen Wolf transformation stuff with the stretching and stuff. It was a lot of those folks.
A lot of same techniques.
Apparently, techniques they've been using since like the 80s and 90s. But this was just, which we'll talk more about, just the
how to make it, but.
Or just the art, the craft put into this movie, but yeah, it shows, man.
But that scene,
a lot of close-ups.
That scene was incredible, and like at first you're like, "Ooh, something's wrong," and then it's full on like, "Oh, this is what's happening. It's happening. Oh my god!" Like no.
Yeah, when he shot the deer and saw it was a dude, I was like, "All right, let's get out of here."
Yeah,
we're done here.
Yeah, and then he realizes too, like, oh, this is wrong, right? Like any animal here is actually a human, and so he's gonna try and save his men.
Mm-hmm.
So he knows what's up when he gets there, and it's interesting. Like he's like, "Nah, I'm not eating that." Like, no thanks.
That was a really good tense scene too. Of just like there's like I like them bouncing heavily between the pure straight up in your face horror of them eating, losing control, and getting actively transformed in front of your eyes, but then quickly shift into like a really suspenseful thriller moment of just Odysseus and Cersei feeling each other out, and Odysseus trying to like figure out what the hell's going on, reading the room, all that stuff. So tense.
Yeah,
but, man, so dope that you can in that one little set piece section have such a wide range of feelings of like mystery to apprehension to outright horror, and then back to more apprehension of like, hey, don't spring the trap. All that was just, again, I gotta say, the pacing in this movie was remarkable. They did so much shit and did it well, and none of it felt rushed. And I felt like, man, they really got the most juice for their squeeze out of this 3-hour movie. Like, man, the pacing was, I don't know if y'all felt the same, but I was like, man, this movie is like, I don't know whose job, Brian, you could speak to the technical elements. I don't know if they were talking about editors or producer or writer, but they kept, this shit was smooth.
I have a lot of sympathy for what they had to do. I think it dragged in the middle when we were going on like this kind of episodic adventures. It didn't feel quite as like connected to the overall arc, but yeah, I mean, I think that's just the nature of like this particular story because of the way what you're basing it off of, and you would have had to cut some of those things or merge them into like like you would have had to merge them into maybe just 1 or 2 episodes in order to make it feel like it wasn't dragging for someone like me. But yeah, it was great. And then it once we start, getting to the part where he's on the raft again, and then I think, and even where we find out what's going on with what was Charlize Theron's character's name? Not Cleo. Calypso. Once we get to like the end part with Calypso, and we start to see like
source of all the Caribbean music. What do you know?
that once we get to that part, I think then the story really picks up again, in terms of me being really invested. So I do think the pacing to me suffered in the middle, but I'm glad that it didn't for you guys, because in that part I was like, movie feels a little bit long now. I'm like, I started to feel the like 2 hours, at that point. And then once the third part starts again, I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I'm back in. So a little bit.
I like the boat section, by the way. I know it's easy
section?
to talk about the disgusting island part, but when they were on the storm after they left Apollo's island and he pretty much said, hey, this storm's going to kill us. I know that wasn't necessarily the most like, it's not as flashy as the giant warriors or the Cyclops or all this other shit, but just being on a ship in a storm at night, the way that scene was filmed with the lighting, the only light you're really getting is from like the wet lamps on the boat and then the occasional flash of lightning. But man, they really just sold how terrifying of it. It was so weird. Of all the awful shit that I saw happen in this movie, aka the road trip from hell, I felt like the boat one might have been the most terrifying because it just felt like the most like, yo, this could just happen. Yeah. Like, you can remove yourself from some of it, but like a storm at night and all that, that was a moment I was just like deeply uncomfortable and like you're just helpless. And man, the movie did a great job.
Man.
They really sold me on the idea of like, yes, Wes, the gods aren't like God of War people walking around, but man, that felt like, y'all pissed off God. I know obviously that is what happened, but they really did a good job of selling, and this is really a upping of the movie as a whole. They really did a good job of feeling like, yeah, man, if this shit happened, I would say the gods are like putting their thumb on the scales too. Because this is just like, oh my God, like I don't see y'all, but man, y'all are really, I'm sorry, bro. Like we're just getting jerked around. But I thought that was a really good touch. That storm.
Brian, what do you think of the storm?
I think that really like highlighted what Athena was saying to Odysseus, right? Where he was like, what? We get nothing from the gods, or like we don't hear anything from them, and she's like, oh, you don't notice the storms that are happening? You don't notice the people that are dying? Like these are all messages from the gods. And then we see it in full force in that storm, and it is crazy. We're flashing to pitch black, and then bright thunder, and it's just like, I wonder how anyone could possibly survive anything like that. And you're like, oh yeah, that's right. That's Mother Nature. Mother Nature is not to be effed with. That is the gods that we are talking about here. And I want to make a side note about the lighting. I think it's really, really interesting and actually like helps give the whole movie its vibe, right? Is that they wanted it to feel like how things would have been lit in ancient Greece, which is torchlit, everything lit by fire. They realized very quickly that they could not actually use fire as their only source of light everywhere because it would take forever just to light it and keep lighting it and all of that. So they created a new type of light that mimics fire, basically, which which hasn't been used on a film set before. They created it specifically for this movie, and so they had these fire mimicking lights everywhere, and that's what gives like the flickering glow that's around every single scene, like whether you're in the castle or in the Trojan War or even on the boat, right, where they have torches on the boat. And I think like that is a big part of what sells this movie, I think, for me, and like feeling like we're really in this. This feels unlike other types of movies about these periods. Like I'm thinking about like Troy with Brad Pitt and whatever. Like this doesn't look like Hollywood. This feels more like, oh, we're on the effing boat and we're gonna die. And a lot of that has to do with lighting and like all the practical effects that they did.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say, I saw. Me and Jen saw this together, and we saw it in a Dolby Cinema screening. And I don't know if this is true for other screenings. I'm sure it is a little bit. The subwoofers on this film were turned up to 1,000. The regular speakers were turned up to like 1,000,000. We could feel you could feel the bass, like all of these like moments and the heartbeat sounds and kind of the drum beat of the movie through your seat. It was just like chest pounding, like being at a huge concert. And in all of these scenes, even the quiet scenes, the subwoofers were going, man. Like you were feeling this, and so these moments, whether it was facing Cersei or the Cyclops, the giant men, the boat scene, you know, in the storm. You're like, it's a visceral feeling in the theater that we saw it in, and I loved it. I was just like, this is amazing. Like, not only do you feel immersed because the screen is huge and the lightning flashes are super bright, and you're kind of thrown into this thing, and you just see like a shadow of a person get thrown overboard. You're like, wait, did I just see a man die? Like, and you just feel like you're on the boat, like you said, but
yes.
I think it's interesting. You said like we see it, but I was like, I feel it because of the way that whatever this theater had going, like the sound was just so encompassing and loud, and you could just hear like the waves crashing all around you. That I was like, man, this is amazing. I went home and I was like, let me dial up my surround sound system that I got set up, and it's like, it's not even close. What is
it made everything else feel weak.
Yeah,
hard agree.
I was like, Brian, I think I'm gonna go try and see it again. I didn't end up seeing it again, but I was like, I got to get back in that feeling.
Yeah, hard agree, Wes.
Go ahead, Savon.
Sorry, this will be quick. Hard agree. One of the most like almost overwhelming, but in a good way, moments of the film.
It was overwhelming.
When the Cyclops was crashing out in the cave, screaming after they stabbed it in the eye, and it's like, it was a point where I'm like almost uncomfortable with just how loud and disorienting it is. But like, it made me relate to, frankly, the soldiers in the cave.
Yeah.
If a giant was screaming like that and the sounds reverberating and bouncing off, and it's this creature you've never seen, it's all this unnatural shit. It gave a very unique feeling that, to your point, only the theater could really make you feel that immersed in, like, you felt like you were in the cave with the monster. And
you're like, oh my
there
God,
are lots of,
I'm gonna get eaten now.
Yeah, but even in parts when people are like stamping spears in unison and all of that, you felt all those moments. And absolutely, Wes, it brought you to it. And again, Brian, to your point, like, now that you've given me that context, yeah, man, the night scenes and the lighting really like, these are all little things that like don't feel like the end of the world in the moment, but when it all comes together, the scenes just feel more real and more concrete and more immersive, and that just elevates the overall experience, right?
You get that tingly feeling like, oh my God, what is happening?
You can't consciously point it out, but your unconscious brain is like, yo, I am rocking with this, and we're going to feel good.
Though. That movie felt stressful because of the
sound. It was.
Yeah.
The fuck felt.
And I think like that's really where this movie hangs its hat on, is it's not necessarily the story. I mean, it is the story, but you know, it's not like the writing, it's not the dialogue, it's not even the acting. Like, some of the acting is not even the best, all that great, but it's just the feeling that you get from watching the experience and actually like feeling it in your bones. And of course, like the themes that the movie is about actually get to, I think, some of that same sentiment, that like internal visceral thing that you experience watching this. And I walked away like thinking like, oh my God, that felt biblical. That's how it felt, right? And like this is pre-Bible also, which makes a ton of sense. That like it felt ancient to me. It felt like the earth was rumbling under my feet to experience this movie. And I think that is a testament to what the story is about as well. But the fact that they were able to match those themes with the experience, the visual and audio experience of the movie, to me is really what makes it sing, and what makes it such a worthwhile thing to spend some money and go sit in a dark room. Like, yo, it's like somebody like shaking you for a couple hours, or 3 hours rather, and you feel kind of different after it, coming out of it, right? Like there's some sort of like transformative thing that goes on here that I don't think a lot of other movies, at least not recent movies, have had.
Well, I dare say, God, I'm gonna hate
say
myself,
it,
but
say it.
The shit was cinema.
Yes, Savon. Yes.
I was about to say cinema.
You know what? I knew you were gonna say something I liked.
I was like, this is cinema. Like, this is just straight up. Because to your point, it's not even like, I mean, there are movies that have other things they did better, but this was just like, it was just very thoughtfully made, and the production value and shit shines through in a way that just like, yeah, man, this shit's dope. if we're talking about themes a little bit, though, I will say this. Maybe if we're segueing into that, Wes, but like I thought this movie really emphasizing, because you're right, Greek stories are more about hubris and like inherent flaws that characters tend to have, right? That tends to be the Greek tragedy. You got a tragic flaw, and that leads to your downfall type stuff. This wasn't really about that as much. I took this movie as just like, yo, this is just a movie about war fucking sucks. Like,
I think
don't
it's
know,
more
maybe
than
that's
that.
a shallow interpretation,
Yeah.
but like obviously you talk about the stuff that comes from it, but like I just took like a very just strong anti-war message of like, yo, man, this is what war does. This is what it takes from you. Every awful thing that happened in this movie was a root of just war and how it ruins everything. About how, you know, even the non-combatants, how Penelope's entire life, she was on this throne. It was just the war took her husband away. The husband was mad because he went away and he knew he didn't want to do this shit. Him having the whole internal guilt about the kids getting recruited and him helping switch out a kid, but then that leads to another one getting effed over. Then that kid still dies. Everything with was it Sinan? Like everything with Sinan, everything with Agamemnon.
That's Elliot Page's character. Yes. If you're listening at home,
thank you. You know, even with Agamemnon talking about his homecoming and Agamemnon's brother, John Burnthal's character, like everybody who talks about or has even been remotely connected to this war is inherently worse off for it, and no one feels good about it, and no one got shit out of it on any side. And so, know, obviously there's deeper themes to go to. Again, depravity of man, but like the biggest takeaway I had was like, war sucks. It ruins everything. It makes monsters of us all, and like everybody in this movie is dealing with the fallout of either the active fallout of war sucking or you're either seeing how war effed them up or you're seeing the after effects of like, hey, this is how you got to live with it. And everyone in this movie is kind of in a miserable place. And I don't know. I'm sure there's other stuff, but I really like that. That felt like a good modern interpretation of the story, which doesn't necessarily have a moral, but that was my ultimate takeaway. Hey, man, we got to do better. Hey, man, this shit sucks.
I think, and I don't think you're wrong in that. I think the movie makes it really clear, like the costs of war are deep and create a lot of like, create a lot of chances for things to go wrong, and they do go wrong. Obviously, I think one of the things that the movie is commenting on for sure is that like there's sort of this idea that the wars are needless wars, right? Like that they're doing it for their own pride. They're doing it for their own reasons. And sometimes they're doing it. There's like a stated reason, and then there's like a real reason, right? Like they make a point to say that Agamemnon was just using this as an excuse because Helen kind of went away voluntarily. Like she wanted to leave, right? But they sold it as like, oh, we're selling, or not. They sold it as Helen was kidnapped. Like she was taken against her will, when right, that's just pretext for actually we just need to invade because we need the economic benefits of it. And I mean, that's like every war that America has fought for the past 50 years, 100 years. I don't know, like all of it is economically based, and like we have an interest in this country or that country or this oil or that oil or this communist regime or that one or whatever, right? Like all of these are really just economic reasons to go in there, but we couch it as like we're going to liberate the people. We're, you know, the all this stuff is happening. And I think there's a commentary there around like you do that at your own peril and the consequences are dire. I think there's also this idea that I really like, just because like, you know, this is my perspective too, which is like the way you do things matters, and like the way you treat each other matters. And I think there's some aspect, I think this has probably been true for some of Christopher Nolan's past movies as well, that it seems like he doesn't necessarily think that we're going down the right path of how we treat each other in a modern society in today's world. And I think some of that is true, right? Like there's still a lot of great things happening. There's still a lot of people who honor themselves and honor each other and build community, but there's plenty of folks and there's systems in place that engender us to actually act in really in honorable ways. What's the opposite of honorable? Dishonorable ways.
Dishonorable.
Yeah. And you know,
should
like
it be dishonorable?
Dishonorable.
Yes, all right, calm down, Sean Connery.
That does sound like Sean Connery. Where, you know, you just look at social media, right? Like, and it's just abundantly clear that like, you know, we're incentivized to be our baser selves and to be selfish, to be dishonorable, to be, you know, whatever. And I think that's an important message for people to hear and see in a major movie, like it's okay to have things be like, we're not glorifying the bad behavior, right? And that people need to reckon with the world that they're building. But yeah, I don't know, that was sort of the thing I want to talk about. I also want to talk about eventually, we don't have to talk about it right now, is the way that the Trojan horse episode was split up into two parts, and how the first time you're seeing it, it's triumphant in the Greeks part, and the effort that the Trojans had to do to bring this horse in, because they literally had to drag it across the sand, and it must have been just crazy heavy with no wheels, right? Like typically you see the Trojan horse with wheels, and they made a choice just to say like, no, like this would have been really hard to do. And I think this, shout out to Screen Crush on YouTube, they were like, one of the things that you see there is that like this explains why the Trojans were so excited to like celebrate this thing, is because they had to work so hard to bring it in. Like this was their prize, right? Like that, and they couldn't fathom that it was like a problem. You know, once they checked it with the sword in the middle, they were like, okay, this thing is actually a gift to Athena, and it was not.
I mean, it's like the red wedding shit, right? Like, hey man, you have even cultures at war have some shared traditions and shit. Yeah. It's like, hey man, even if it's effort, you pull some, they pulled a lot of work on something not cool.
The fact that the horse was standing on its hind legs, and that the soldiers packed inside were not like sitting in neat little rows, like in pews, like in the more like standing on top conventional idea that we have of the Trojan horse, right? They're on each other's shoulders, like packed to the gills, in the most uncomfortable situation that you could possibly imagine, as they're being rolled into the city, and then getting stabbed by border patrol to check for contraband.
You see when they wiped the blade on the way up? That was
my god! That was quick thinking.
And they're covering the mouth of the dude.
They're covering his mouth.
Wow.
John Bernthal saying the piss and shit and people drowning.
Insane. And then to top it all off is like the meaning of it all, right? Like you're saying, like this is a gift for Athena. This is something we do to venerate our gods. And Odysseus admits later, like, we violated that law. This is supposed to be a gift. Like you would never taint a gift with war. And to me, like that is the big theme of the movie, right? Like we are violating the natural order of things. We are violating how we respect.
It's not the natural order of things. We're violating the civilized order of things.
It is the natural order of things, because they're talking about gods, right? They're talking about the gods. These are the gods demand that you acknowledge when lightning is striking, that you acknowledge what is happening on the seas, right? Poseidon, like you are cognizant of what Poseidon is saying to you, and you abide. But they are doing the opposite of that, and they are corrupting what the gods have demanded. They're, and like doing this thing with the Trojan horse, right? And then killing all the people, right? To me, like all of these things are interrelated. Like it's not just, to me, it's like not just war. It's also, this is a thing about climate change. This is a thing about AI. This is about all these changes that are happening in the world that violate or defy the way that the natural order,
the social contract, basically, like our
everything is broken.
The social contract.
Yeah,
you've crossed the line, right? And now you're gonna pay for it, right? Like now the dead are going to chase you now, and to me, like that's sort of like the big takeaway of the movie is like, you could apply this in so many different ways. The world has changed, and now we're worse off for it. And the next generation, by the end of the movie, they're going to have to decide how they course correct or not. Right?
Yeah,
like everything is in the hands of Spider-Man at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's this idea of like taking too much, right? Like, and that's 100% what we're going with, like data centers. There's this idea of how do you treat the least of you, right? The people with the lowest amount of power, and that's a conversation that's happening all the time. It could be
Zeus that comes to your door, right? Like, you have to, you have to treat that person as if they were
Odysseus
even
said, you see most about a man from when you're below, or from below. Yeah. So because he chooses to be the beggar to kind of just test the moral character of these people.
You know what sucks about that message? This is a modern day take, not an an ancient take. It's like that idea that like you be nice to people because they might be gods or they might be Zeus is like, I don't agree with that. I'm like, you treat people nice because like they're human, because they deserve to be treated nice, not because they might be a god who might strike you down, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I felt like that part was like annoying, and I wanted them to reframe
I think
that
you're
a little
taking a
bit.
bad faith. I think you're purposely taking this in like the most negative way. Like,
Yeah. I
I
mean,
think it
but
means, hey, treat people shitty. It just means, hey, bro, you never know who you're dealing with. So,
But you do know they're a human, right? Like, that's what I'm saying, is like, you do know who they are. They're a human, and even if they were a god, great. Like, but you're not doing it because you might be
Obviously, in this
rewarded.
movie, they didn't know who the beggar was, and it turned out to be Odysseus.
Yeah, but I like that all these themes are in here, in sort of a like, yeah, it's an earnest movie, I think, right? Like, I think you would say it's not a cynical movie in that sense. It's a cynical movie in that it thinks like we have gone astray, but it's an earnest movie in that it encourages us to be more than we've thought of ourselves at this point, or more than we've become. Yeah, I don't know. I really like that aspect of it.
I think everything you said was right.
Yeah,
I think all three of us had different interpretations about like what the main takeaway is, but I don't think anybody was wrong. Like, I still feel good about the anti-war stance. But Brian, to your point, that ties into your point about just our laws and traditions and how we treat each other can be absolutely eroded by war and lead us to just be animals. And then, Wes, to your point about like, yeah, I mean, I think that's already a good sign, is that we all have very different takeaways about what it's about, but I don't think any of them are like off base or wrong. It's just there's a lot to unpack in this movie and a lot to take away. We've barely talked about how they keep talking about Zeus's law, and there's probably moments on rewatch where you can infer that, hey, this character might have been a god, or hey, Athena might have been in this scene, or even just them using, Zendaya's character turning out to be representing Matt Damon's guilt. And even that, right? It's like, it's open to interpretation. Is it a manifestation of his guilt? Probably. Is it Athena mocking him? Maybe a little bit of both. Is the girl representing of like, hey, that could be a random person, which is why you treat folks right, and that was Athena in disguise. Not to mention, it was a gift to Athena, and we know that Odysseus literally worships Athena. Like, that was a goddess he prayed to throughout the entire movie. The golden pen that was his entire motivation for returning to his wife was of Athena. So just the themes of the sacrilege and hypocrisy and all that coming full circle with his internal struggle was, oh my goodness, top tier. Again, they kept showing that scene of him taking his helmet off and having like what looks like a soldier breakdown, but we never really got the full context. We just thought, okay, this shit's rough, but then we really saw how bad it got, and it's like, oh man, it's a real like, gut punch, because we've seen this figure in his head this whole time who we just think is a god, and we learn, oh no, it's something more than that. But like, just all those. But to your point, like, that just kind of reinforces all the points we're making of war making you do terrible shit and kick away your traditions that made us something decent in a world where gods absolutely are real and fickle and have feelings. And like, yo, man, that's just a lot of shit to bring together and, in my opinion, like, make work. Like, that wasn't even like a main part of the movie, but it was there. She was a small character, but impactful. And I'm like, that shit's hard, man.
I like that. I walked away feeling that there weren't necessarily gods in the way that we see them portrayed when we're kids, and they're like, there's a Zeus and he's standing on top of Mount Olympus, or right, like Hercules, where like they're actually personified. But I like that, like, you could, and I think this is my own interpretation, because I'm not like a religious person, I'm not a whatever. To me, it felt like a lot of it was, we're looking back at this ancient time where people are ascribing this to gods, but it's actually, right, it's just the way that the world works, and the nature and all of this stuff that's going on, and there's power in nature, but it wasn't necessarily a god that was doing this, right? It didn't have to be like a god that, like, had lightning bolt fingers, basically, that maybe yeah, these are natural forces that are impacting them, and they don't have the science to necessarily understand all of this stuff yet, and so to them it feels like gods. And I think that's how we often look back at this time, and that, right, like Athena, even though she is personified here, it turns out that you could have a certain perspective, I think. And what I took from it was, yeah, like, he's imagining what Athena would say to him because he's so guilt-ridden by what he did, and it takes the form of this, I don't know what the people that work in the temple are called, but with this person that is murdered. And I think that because the statue's head doesn't look like Zendaya, right? And so he's putting somebody else's face as like her spirit is, in the fact that they killed somebody who's clearly an innocent person, not a combatant on this, and she's the one talking to him and trying to sort through his conscience. I want to transition to a little bit something that we're kind of unqualified to talk about, but I think was noticeable was like the role of the women in the film. So there's only a couple. It's Penelope, it's Zendaya, and then Lupita Nyong'o plays two different characters in the movie. She plays Helen and then her twin sister, and they all get moments of some agency. Oh, sorry, there's Cersei, there's not
Calypso.
Cleo. What is her name? Calypso. So they get some play there as well. I don't know. Did you feel like Nolan was able to give them things to do? Because I think what it sounds like is in the poem they didn't have a whole lot necessarily to do except maybe Calypso and Cersei. But like Helen is sort of in the Iliad, she's kind of just a passenger. She doesn't really get to say her piece, and Penelope very much is just waiting for Odysseus to get back. I thought there were some attempts made to like give them their own agency, and Penelope like really lays into Telemachus a couple of times, and it's like, you are a child. I was like, whoa, yeah. I mean, you do look pretty young, but I don't know. Did you feel like that was like a part of the movie that the movie was trying to sort of retcon into existence? Did you feel like it was successful? I don't know if you had any thoughts on that when you noticed it. You might just say it wasn't something that needed to be talked about. Savon?
I just don't think that's what the movie was about, to be honest with you.
I don't think it was about that.
I mean, like,
but
my point being, like, my point is that, like, I don't think any of the stuff that happened with the women was noticeably different than any of the stuff that happened with the men. Like, I don't think there was really a gender difference in how those characters were treated. I think it's more so about, I took it as, like, when it comes to if there's any conversations about agency, I think it's more about Odysseus and his relationship with the gods more so than any other characters based on, like, their, gender or sex or anything. Like, though, like, Helen of Troy, like, Helen just isn't really, like, this movie isn't really about her. She's like a very, very small, relatively irrelevant footnote in the movie, which is fine because it's not called the Helen, it's called the Odyssey. So, like, I don't know. I just don't think the movie was enough about them or any of those other characters to really have a lot to add about that. Like, most characters in the movie didn't have agency because they were subjected to a higher power, often the gods, kind of railroading the decision making. So I didn't know it was anything gendered, but I don't know. That's just all. That's just me.
Yeah, Brian, what do you think?
I did think Penelope was a really interesting character. I don't necessarily remember how she's depicted in Homer's version, but in this, you did get the sense that she is trying to carefully balance a lot of different issues at the same time, and that there's quite a bit of weight on her shoulders from it, right? Like she's trying to fend off the suitors, she's trying to prepare her son, but she also feels like she can rule at the same time. And she's been doing it for
20 years.
She's also lying to people actively, right? And trying to maintain some semblance of order. And she's also longing for a husband lost to war, which has to be one of the most terrible feelings out there. And I think she, there are little cracks under that pressure, but mostly she maintains her resolve. And I think, I was like, I'm not a huge Anne Hathaway fan. part of me is like, Odysseus, you were trapped on an island with Charlize, and you're going back to Anne Hathaway. But that aside, I was like, yo, like Anne Hathaway like really brought something to this role that I was not expecting at all. Like like you could argue that she had one of the better performances in the whole movie.
Yeah. Because
of all that depth added to what could otherwise be a really one-note character.
I wish they gave her more to do, though. Like, plot-wise.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, that's the thing. There's only so much she could do. Like, her whole bit is that she's trapped here waiting for the suitors. Like, if that's the case, we just want
but you could have shown her having to deal with the weight of ruling or administering this, small nation state. There could have been that, right? Like,
there could have been a 6-hour movie.
Yeah, but I mean, like, because she does say, like, I've been ruling this place, whatever. Like, why do I have to take another man? Like, I'm the one doing this, and it's like, well, you didn't actually show us doing that. We saw you sitting behind the screen, and like that was a don't show us thing, and like they could have just shown us that, I think, a little bit more. And the other person,
3-hour movie.
I know.
I think
you have to make choices,
I think that's very much a, like, could that have made it been better? Yes, but like it would have probably have maybe been good for her character in a vacuum, but it would have hurt the movie more. Like,
I mean, you could have cut some of Telemachus's scenes then. Like, like there was parts where that's okay. Yeah, it's all choices for sure. I don't know. And again, this is going to make the movie longer, so which we're not trying to do, but I wish that we got more from Helen. Because like that's such an interesting thing that she chose to go with Paris to back to Troy to leave Menelaus, and now she's forced back to being with Menelaus. Like, what is that like? That's like super awkward for everybody involved. And it, we get one little scene at the dinner table or banquet table or whatever, and it is a little bit awkward, but I think there's more to it than that's there. And
Wes wants the TV show. Bring it on, Christopher Nolan.
Bring it on. I would have liked to see more of that, especially since, we know Lupita Nyong'o is such a great actor.
But isn't that just like the Iliad? I had to aren't there other stories that's about?
Yes.
This ain't the story. This story ain't about
the story about Odysseus.
The Trojan,
this is about Odysseus.
I mean, the Trojan horse also happens in the Iliad. Like, they're pulling from both poems, and so I think like it would have just been nice to like, when you go to meet Helen and you see her scars and you see Menelaus kind of being on edge, right? Those are things that I'm curious about. And maybe it didn't have to be in the movie. Maybe it's just like, it's good enough to be like, I'm curious about it. But I felt like Lupita Nyong'o, we know that she's fantastic, a little underused here. Although she does get some nice revenge on Agamemnon for killing her daughter, which was like crazy. He's
also like all these actors are underused.
It's just there are other stories that are, like this one of those. This is the Odyssey, man. We can't be mad at the Odyssey for focusing on Odysseus. This is Odysseus' story, I'm just saying though, if the story is about Odysseus, the backstory of Helen of Troy is not relevant to what Odysseus' conflict is or what the conflict of the story. This is about Ithaca and the upcoming conflict and all of that, and the Helen of Troy stuff is at best a historical footnote about the war, but like there's other epics and stories of Homer that focus more on that character, and I just don't want it to. This movie had a focus. Odysseus, they did that. And it's clear because this movie had so many big names, and some of the, even some of the advertising probably didn't give you quite an idea of, okay, lots of big names. You don't know who's going to be the actual driving force. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. This is a Matt Damon movie. This is about Odysseus. And I was fine with that because it made the shit focused. Like, we don't need to, I don't know. Like, even John Burns, oh, he's got a character. Okay, cool. But he was there for what he needed to be. Didn't overstay his welcome. And like,
I thought that was
this
good.
is one of those, you got to give Nolan his, this is Christopher Nolan telling a complicated but tight story. And like, I feel like when we start to do all this and we get too many characters, like, you start to lose the plot. Again, this shit was 3 hours. Like, we'll wait for the sequel or the spinoff.
And I think that's fine too. I think I would have liked more from Helen just because of how much she plays a role in like why they're there in the first place, right? And I think it is relevant in the sense that like some of their inability to like see what's right in front of them, right? That Helen actually is not wanting to be here, that Helen but they're ignoring that, right? They're like, no, like you have to be back with Menelaus and we have to like conquer Troy for all of this like clear thing. And it's like, again, right? You're not respecting the wishes of other people. You're just doing it for your own glory or your own thing. That is part of it, right? And that we don't know what Helen's wishes really were in this movie. And I think that's like, that is something that they could have explored given the theme of the movie of like, we're trying to respect what other people are doing, right? As living their lives and not trying to just, take everything for ourselves. All right. Any other things you want to talk about? There's so much. We didn't even talk about the IMAX nature of it. There's so much hype going around about how this was filmed in IMAX and they used a special camera, special mirror system. I've seen mirror systems. Anything you want to talk about, Brian?
All the bonus content is really cool. That's all I say.
All right. Find it on YouTube and Instagram. It's pretty cool. Savon, anything you want to talk about?
I mean, there was a lot of shit that happened in this movie.
There's a lot.
I mean, I'm trying to think of anything else. I guess the only critique I had, the only real note I had about the movie was that the ending kind of just devolving into a really wild bar fight type situation maybe wasn't my favorite finale. Like, I think things kind of lost the plot a little bit of just like, all right, maybe Christopher Nolan just isn't the best at like action scenes.
Throw the
But there were-
spears from
but there were-
from the ceiling.
No, I didn't even mind that part. That was actually funny as hell. Like, it was one of those, this looks ridiculous, but like, this is what would be happening. Like, if homie was like trying to drop shit through the roof, like, he would smack the shit out of Tom Holland and then go right back to work. Just whoop. I'm like, dang, he is like a UPS worker right now. He is a machine.
Amazon Prime.
No, believe it or not,
Non-union.
No, it wasn't that I had an issue with. That was kind of funny, but like made sense. It was more so just like, I think choreography wise, it just gets a little wild to be like Matt Damon's old emaciated character just fighting a room full of dudes. And at first, I was okay with
This
this.
man was
Jason Bourne
jacked.
on him.
He had also been stranded on an island forever, but not the point.
Jacked.
Point is, he was old and outnumbered, and I was like, all right, I don't mind him kicking some ass, but I thought he was gonna die, and I think her just saying, no, don't die, and he's like, die? No, exile. I feel like he felt disrespected. Like, bitch, you don't have to die. We just can't stay here no more.
That's what he said, right?
I'm
I
a
made it all this
legend.
way
Legends
back. I'm
don't
not-
die.
But I'm
I'm
saying,
not
but you saw
dying
him.
here.
But you saw him in that. He got the arrows. Come on, man. We both saw that man was riddled with arrows for all the news. We all thought he was about to drop dead, profess his love, and then the son becomes king, and Odysseus gets to get his rest. They said, nah, man. They patched him up. All right, get on out of here. I just thought jokes aside, I just thought the fighting at the end got a little hokey because it was just
Okay.
like, all right, man,
A little
is
bit.
starting to. It's getting.
It was more fun than like purposeful, right? It's like
It was like
now
yeah,
he's swinging double axes.
Yeah, and I was like, all right, like maybe that'd be cooler at a different part of the movie, but this is like the emotional climax of him returning home, and I felt like they should have played it a little more straight. There were moments where I'm like, they're not quite playing it as straight as I'd like. Not the end of the world, but it was like, hey, for the finale, it's like I thought
Maybe
we were
a little
kinda,
more brutal and kind of House of the not.
There
Yeah,
was
it was very
there was
Jason
a-
Bourne.
You know,
right?
there was
Very
just a
Jason
point
Bourne.
where this man had
Brutal.
2 axes. Yeah, but like it's giving action movie badass rather than
More like John Wick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's giving one man army in a way that like the tone of this movie never quite gave one man army.
Yeah, we didn't know that Odysseus could do all that.
Yeah, like we know
Right?
he
Like
could
we never
lead
saw
and
that
think,
before.
but and fight when a need. We didn't think, hey man. But that was distinctly a part where they had the 2 axes welded together or tied together.
Oh
and he
yeah.
grabs that and he's just swinging it around.
Like
and there was a
nunchuck.
moment- there was a moment where I'm like, what? I think my face said, wait, what?
At least
Now-
he didn't just like automatically take it apart. The fact that it was together like kind of a nunchuck swinging thing, I was like, oh, that makes sense because they had tied them together.
But
Wes, I
why
had
did
half
no
of
one
my-
else
I had-
do that?
Wes,
I
I
don't
had half a mind that he was gonna do that. And, well, you know what? Here's the thing: other people did get weapons, and like,
Nunchuck style.
yeah, for like he's gonna do nothing. That's the thing. Other people did for a sec, but that's the part where I'm like, all right, I don't mind him whooping ass, but it got a little too John Wick one man army for my taste.
Gotcha.
But
That's fair.
it didn't. But that's just like if I had to give a note, this movie was still phenomenal, and it didn't really take away. And also, who plays the one I got? The actor, help me out, y'all.
Oh, John Leguizamo.
He was so.
He
Oh,
was
she meant the
awesome.
Cyclops. I
He
like,
was
that's a puppet.
so good. Just the emotional depth, him playing this old guy, the de-aging of younger and older version, his unwavering loyalty to Odysseus, and him having just like the emotional breakdown of don't give me no more false hope. I can't do it. It was like, man, that's when Odysseus hasn't revealed himself, but he's saying I followed him, and he's like a firm but fair taskmaster, and it's just the movie did a good job of building up Odysseus' hype and it actually feeling earned and believable. And that was also a part like I want to highlight. Sometimes it's hard to have someone be hyped up. The streets love him, the ladies love him, the soldiers love him, everybody love him, and it feels earned. But then the movie did a good job of us seeing Odysseus just on his own thoughts and how he is as a person. But then also everyone portrays him. I'm like, shit, man. The man lives up to the legend. He's just like OG Optimus Prime. It's like, yeah, man, I'd run through a wall for this dude. Like, he's dope. But I mean, that's a shout out to like I've never been big on Matt Damon. I've been neutral to Matt Damon. He's a really good actor. I kind of like I said, I just never seen a lot of his movies, but I was like, oh, this dude's he really sold me on just like capable, humble, guilty man. Which y'all think the movie's about him not being guilty for others? Is that something y'all took away from this, by the way?
What do you mean?
A theme is that he wants to protect his men. He believes he's responsible for them, which is why he's going out of his way to try to save them from themselves, even though a lot of the death they bring upon themselves. But then when he's having a conversation with a character, I think the guy they're saying, hey, I led them into battle. He's like, cool, who led you into battle? Who called you to do this shit? And I couldn't tell if the movie was trying to push a little bit of a theme of like, hey, Odysseus, it's not your fault.
Oh,
I mean,
that's interesting.
A little bit.
Is that?
Yeah, there was a little bit of that.
Because his whole thing is, I gotta save him. I'll do whatever I can. But we see the men kind of screw themselves over. Even the ladies saying they're pigs, saying like, hey, the human form was their disguises. So is he saying that they were always ain't shit, and that's just the nature of how shit goes? That's not okay, but like, that's not your burden to bear.
A little bit.
I thought it was more like, Odysseus, you're making excuses of why you're not owning up to what you did and why you're not going back home, right? Like I felt like the movie was trying to make a point that like really he was the thing that was preventing himself from going home because he didn't yet want to admit that he wasn't ready to go home for his own guilt. Right.
Because
and
of
so
this awful
like
thing he did, right? Because of the,
yeah,
because of the horse. Oh yeah, no,
exactly.
Shit, duh,
So
you're right.
like
No, that
I
makes
thought,
perfect sense.
yeah, I thought like her pointing that stuff out that like, oh, he's worried about the soldiers was like her just calling him on his BS. Like he's just making up excuses for why he's got to do all these things.
No, that's
really,
true. But
he's evading his own responsibility to go home.
Okay.
Yeah. But they did call out that like the soldiers themselves were also responsible. I think that's also true.
Okay, so it might be a little bit of both, but no, Brian, you're completely right. Like I kind of missed the point of like I also caught up on him feeling guilt for his soldiers that I was ignoring. Like, yes, that might be true, but also you did an awful thing that you clearly feel bad about, and you're still struggling with the. Yeah, you're right because his whole.
You can't face
you're
yourself
not confronting
to go
it just yet.
Yeah, because his whole meltdown is that. Yeah, to your point, he feels like he basically just orchestrated the red wedding essentially of like, oh man, I just then did the most uncool shit ever. The streets love me for it. They making songs and shit, and I'm like, man,
he doesn't want to face that. Yeah,
I
like,
really
oops.
effed up.
It was his Oppenheimer moment.
Shit, damn, you're right. Oh man, good point, dude. Yeah, just okay, cool. I'm glad I asked that question.
The thing with Matt Damon though that I wondered about this movie, and which I've heard some podcasts discuss, was like, I don't know that he gives the best performance in this. Like he's a little kind of a mixed bag, but yet at the same time, to Savon's point, is like, it would be hard to put somebody else in the role because you do trust Matt Damon. You do like, he just has that inherent thing where you're like, oh, I can be sympathetic towards this guy. I'm rooting for him. Oh, he does have a lot of sorrow and pain and guilt all at once. And I just got to go with him.
Like the siren scene. I thought that was great.
Oh, yeah.
Like him breaking down that internal monologue. I was
crazy.
Like, oh, man. I think I respect Matt Damon, the professional, more than the actor, because I know about how like knowledgeable he is. Like I've seen him talk about the filmmaking process, and I'm like, oh, this dude is like, he really do this shit. Like this isn't just for the money. This is a way of life for this man. I think that's what makes me have a little bit more trust for him, Brian. Maybe in terms of like, but I see what you could mean about performance. He's not going to be elevating it, but he feels like a steady force.
Yeah, he's a steady hand, right? People were like wondering, like, what if Christian Bale was like the lead
and
or something like that?
It's more of a higher floor, lower ceiling, higher ceiling, lower floor type shit.
I think Odysseus would be crazed if it was Christian Bale.
Yeah, it'd be different.
He'd be unhinged.
I mean, I think, like, I could imagine. I did think a little bit like, I don't know if Matt Damon's like Odysseus to me in my head, because like Matt Damon seems so like more childlike. I mean, I know he's older now, but we see him in our mind's eye. He's still Good Will Hunting.
He got that baby face.
Yeah, when that man got that full gray beard, and everyone calls him old man.
But he does seem like more of a like a a innocent character or innocent person. I think, and he's not that he's not played villains before, but he does seem a little bit more of the like he's the good guy. You could have played it with someone like Hugh Jackman. Probably could have done the physicality of it and the feeling the weight of the world on him. I think Hugh Jackman does a good job with that kind of thing, but maybe that's too close to his Logan character. It might have been very kind of similar, but I think you could have done things like that with different actors. I don't think it's an unfair criticism to say like maybe we could have had a different, more grizzled, leathered kind of actor do it. I don't know. It'll be all right. Let's do some ratings, Brian. How many Nolans are you giving this?
So this is a tough movie to rate.
How many IMAX popcorn buckets are you giving this?
Each one of those is worth $70.
Sheesh.
So this is a tough movie to rate because, like I said, I do not think this is like a a perfect movie at all. Like I don't think it's close, right?
Really?
It's like there's
You were just telling us how amazing it was.
there are a lot
all
of
over
there
the
are a lot
place.
of quibbles. There are a lot of quibbles that like I don't think like the acting is the best. I don't like I said, I don't think the written dialogue is the best.
Fair.
You know, like the Savon's comment about the John Wick ending. You know, like there's some questionable things. There are a few questionable moments, like the non Greek specific accent. The what am I trying to say? The anachronistic dialogue in some places.
I was fine with that.
Like a little bit. There was like a moment or two, maybe when somebody dropped an F-bomb, and you're just like, wait, what? There's some things about the movie, right? And like I can think of more perfect movies out there, but I don't think I can think of another movie watching experience that's anything like this. This is like almost probably one of one, really. And I haven't even seen it in IMAX 70, right? I saw, you know, like I haven't gotten the full experience even. And so like this, it's sort of a crazy thing. It's just like such a phenomenal viewing experience that I can't really liken it to anything else. So I'm gonna go with like an 89 out of 100 IMAX popcorn buckets. But definitely like, you know, go see this movie. Like what are we doing here? Like it, you know, if you're listening to this podcast, like go see it if you haven't already seen it, and
go see it again.
If you have seen it, go see it. Try to go see it in IMAX. Like it's just worth it.
Real IMAX, big screen, 100-foot screen IMAX. Savon, what are you rating this?
I agree with Brian in that, like, if you decide to go through with a fine-tooth comb, I'm sure you can find like quibbles about this movie like any. But you know, not all quibbles exist in a vacuum for me. The issues I had with this movie pretty much don't take away at all from the things the movie did well. And the things this movie did well were so good that like I would be lying to you if I said, oh, this thing that I wasn't a fan of took away. Even for me saying the John Wick ending, I was like, yeah, it didn't take away from how much I enjoyed this effing movie.
Plus, you like Rule of Cool.
Yeah, but not for this movie that was very much leaning away from that. Like, this movie was going...
This movie is not about cool, right?
Yeah, this movie's about epic.
Suffering. It's about suffering.
No, it's about epic and gravitas, but not cool. Lots of things are epic, but not cool. Now, the point is, this movie was effing awesome. I mean, I went in with no expectations. I'm not really like a Nolan fan, so I find him to be a little pretentious. So I was kind of just like, all right, man, let's see what he's about to do. And I had a phenomenal time. Brian, for me, what it comes down to, you know, there's dialogue, music, all that shit. But when you're going to the movies, for me, the viewing experience is the most important part. What's the point of a movie with amazing dialogue and acting if it's not a good viewing experience or it's not a good entertainment product, right? This movie was one of the most entertaining things I have seen in years. It was epic. It made me feel feelings. I got to see a lot of cool shit. It was a long movie that got the most juice I could squeeze. If you were a teacher, this will be, I think, a good movie to show students, try and get them into the Odyssey and give some context and use it as like a jump off springboard to talk more about it and its themes. Like, I hope for generations later, this will be the movie of the Odyssey. Some teacher shows their kid, the students, because, hey, that's what we talk about it. All that to say, I give this movie I dare say I give it an A+.
Yeah.
I don't have any real complaints. Like,
wow.
It was an amazing movie. It did everything you wanted to do. Like, any complaints I have just will feel like, hey man, you don't make movies, shut the fuck up. Like, it'd be those type of complaints of like, hey man, it's not a universal issue.
Gotcha.
I don't know. Shit was dope, man. Like, I know maybe it's recency bias. It's only been 14 hours since I've seen it at the time of recording. But like, I haven't had this much fun at a movie in a hot little minute. Like, and here's the thing, I didn't have expectations. I think that's why I really think the rating is natural. I didn't have a preconceived notion of what I thought it should be or what I expected. I just went in, had a blast, and said, cool, I'd pay for that again. So yeah.
I had no idea all these actors were in this movie.
Me neither.
And that was like a fun surprise.
Yeah, I was just like, is that Travis Scott? Is that John Bernthal? Is that?
Yeah, I was like, John Bernthal?
Is that your boy? I was looking at the dude with the one eye. Is that your boy? Here? Is that your boy from something? Like the one eye dude?
I didn't know
like,
Leguizamo was in it.
I was like, oh, he up in this mug too?
I didn't recognize Travis Scott. I don't think I know what he looked like.
We never
the glasses and the...
I'm sorry, we effed up. We never said anything this whole time. Robert Pattinson was awesome.
Robert Pattinson stole the whole movie.
He's such a dick. Robert Pattinson is such a good actor.
Yeah.
He's like,
everybody hated him.
He's such a. Could someone get these
so Weasley
beggars out of here? I was like, yo, somewhere Trump is just like, oh yeah, that's hard. That's tough. That's a gif.
His little friend, Corey Hawkins, I think is the actor's name. Had a little
dude with the insane mustache.
Didn't he play like Dr. Dre or somebody in one of those movies?
Yeah, one of those movies. No, I'm not
Something
sure.
Like he played. I think he played Dr. Dre.
He might have been a straight out of Compton.
Right.
But it'd be remiss. Robert Pattinson was like, he was a treat. Got to give that man his flowers. Brian, yes, certain people might have been.
That's where the acting was.
But he was in his bag.
He was by far and away the best actor in this movie.
Really?
I thought so.
I don't know how to judge these things all the time, but I believed him, so I don't have to disagree there. I did like Matt Damon's acting. I liked Anne Hathaway's acting too. All right, I would rate it, I think 4.5 out of 5. I really enjoyed it. I thought the experience was great, like Savon said, especially like I said earlier, the soundscape and all of the way that it was designed was great, and you know, some of the visuals just awesome. Seeing some things come to life like the Cyclops and that pig scene with Cersei was incredible and terrifying and all of that at the same time. I think, you know, like minor points off, maybe just because like I don't know that I would want to see this again after it's out of theaters. Like I'm not probably gonna, you know, boot it up on Paramount Plus or wherever it shows up on my own volition. It's just such a long movie, and you know, I think a lot of the stuff I will remember for a while. So I don't know, maybe the replayability for me is not as high. And then, you know, yeah, small thing. And then it's just like the middle part being a little bit too episodic for my liking. I wish that there was some way that it could have been somehow smoothed out or fast forwarded a little bit or something. I don't know. All right, friends. I'm not sure. Man, Savon making a stank face at my rating. It's still high. It's 4.5,
no,
bro.
No, it wasn't about the rating. It wasn't about the rating. It's just me. No, this is just me attacking you philosophically for wanting less of an Odyssey and an Odyssey. But
no, less episodes. Less of the same feeling episodes. Because like I will say, like, you know, when they went to the island with the
rage-based successful.
The cow, yeah, the one with the cows at the one of the last stops that they make. I really like that one in the sense that it was like, this is a thing of your own making, right? This is a different type of thing where you have to battle within yourself to like do the thing that you know you shouldn't do. Whereas the other ones were all like, there was some external force. All of them were external force, whether it was the Cyclops or the Giants or Cersei or whoever, that they were always having to like run away from. Whereas, you know, a lot of this is really like, can you survive against your own self sometimes, right? And I like that, like,
that's what all of them were about.
Like they were actually in like physical danger from like somebody else.
We will let the listeners decide, because we talked about that earlier in the podcast.
So that's all. Yeah, I wish those were a little bit like broken up or different or something. So minor points off for that. Friends, we're out here. Whew, we did an epic podcast. This podcast is going to be almost an hour and a half. So friends, hope you enjoyed a podcast half the length of this epic movie.
Not even.
We'll be back. I don't know if we're going to talk about Supergirl. These two gents didn't seem to want to see it. I saw it. I really liked it. We'll talk about that maybe at some point.
Got a lot of shit out right now.
I know. There's still House of the Dragon is on. Spider-Man comes out in a couple of weeks. What else is going on? I don't know. Everything. Silo is happening right now.
I'm watching the Avatar movie next week.
Avatar is coming out next week. Isn't there an Avatar show coming out also?
No, it came out today.
It's out right now. Okay. It's on Paramount Plus.
I'm going to have to get myself a free trial. Apparently, teachers also get half off or something like that, subscriptions, but I'm going to try and get a free trial there. We can talk about that one next time. So do the homework. Watch Avatar. Maybe watch Supergirl. Definitely watch Spider-Man. So much to watch. House of the Dragon. Keep up with that. Brian, you gotta catch up on House of the Dragon.
I kind of don't care.
Really? The season's been good. Maybe you won't like it. I don't know.
I just want to watch more Odyssey. Give me more Odyssey.
Have you liked the season of House of the Dragon? Yeah, it's good. Okay. All right, friends. We're out of here. Hit us up on at confidently_pod on Instagram. You can check us out on YouTube as well. See you later. Have a great weekend. Bye.
Peace, y'all.